Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel where I help you become a better artist. Today we are learning about drawing and texturing realistic wrinkles. So if you're wondering who actually is on the thumbnail, it's just a character I made up. His name is Bartholomew. Now Bartholomew has seen some stuff, okay? He's an interplanetary, I guess you can call him like the Geralt of Rivia, but for space. He goes around, he kills the baddest of the bad monsters so that other societies can eventually terraform the areas. But what inhabits the areas are pretty bad. So you can see his face. I mean, there's scars. He's aged. He's got the 1,000-yard stare. He's been through it. I don't have a name for her yet. She's more cyberpunkish, so her skin isn't really wrinkled. It's more synthetic, I guess you could say. So we'll get into a tutorial about synthetic skin and textures and how to layer that. So today I'm going to do wrinkles. Now, the cool thing about wrinkles is that, yes, I'm doing it on a human face, but it can definitely be applied to animals. It can also be applied to creatures and pretty much anything organic. Now, before I get started in the actual drawing, I'm going to tell you what I'm using, and it's a Faber-Castell 4B. Okay, so you can see it right here. I'm only going to use this, nothing else. No eraser, no black Prismacolor, nothing. And you're going to see it. Now, if you're interested in purchasing this, I got a link down below, my Amazon link. I got a little gallery where I have a list of all of my artistic supplies that I use, like my X-Acto pencil sharpener, my pencils, you know, and even a book and a couple other things that I use on a daily basis. So if you can click the link below, that'd be awesome. All right, let's jump into it. So how the heck did I get all of these textures? You see face stubble, you see aged skin, and I'm going to give you a little bonus lesson within the wrinkle lesson, and that is how to put scars on the skin. So you can see that Bartholomew's face, let me move the sketchbook down a little bit. You could see his face is pretty messed up, okay? And then behind it, now just showing you that I'm not tracing it all. Okay, this is just like a little doodle of an evil face. Okay, and then I got an outline of some bird-like character with a dragon on his shoulder. So, let's jump into it. All right, how would I do this? I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to sharpen it. I'm going to keep it sharp the entire time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to section off a little area down here, like so. Now remember, in my past lessons, how important it is to go in different directions when you're layering. Okay, part of the problem of sketches not looking realistic is because of patience. That's it. It's not that you guys are not capable of doing it. It's just patience and layering. Okay, we want to jump right into the details, and that's not a good idea. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you can see exactly what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to move my sketchbook over just a tad. Okay, so I actually don't know what that dirt is. I think it's probably something that got stuck in between the sketchbook. Okay, I went this direction. Now I'm going to go in direction number 2, but I'm not going to push harder. Like that. Okay, notice where I'm holding the pencil. It's like right at the end of it so that I can move my pinky freely. So what it does, like if you look at my hand from the side, my pinky goes down like this. Here's the paper. It keeps my palm off of the paper so that my palm and the oil in my skin is not smearing the graphite. Okay, we don't think of it. It's like something that we ignore when we draw because we're just so in tune to the actual picture. But you don't want to smudge, and you definitely want to keep your skin off of it, because once you smudge, you take that texture away, and it almost looks like a mistake. Let me just give a little disclaimer. It's not that smudging is bad. No, you can have some really cool effects with smudging. I'm saying if you want realistic skin texture and wrinkles, you can't smudge. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Okay, so I went probably like 3 directions. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to go another one. So I'm going to go slightly at this angle. I'm going to go a little faster. So you notice like my strokes went way out here. That's okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push just a little harder to put some value in here. So what I'm doing is I'm laying down a skin texture that I'm happy with. So I'm getting a little darker here, and I'm actually going to flip my sketchbook upside down, but I'm going to keep my hand at the same angle. This is something that I've been stressing in a lot of different videos, where every single one of you has a comfortable angle that you hold your pencil in order to make your best lines. Everybody's different. You don't want to compromise that by twisting your hand around to get a good angle. Instead, just twist the sketchbook and keep your hand at that angle. That way, all of your lines will look good. All right, so I gotta be careful here because I'm almost going over Bart's face. Yes, I'm gonna call him Bart. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. You can start to see that the lines are disappearing and a nice coating is in place. So those of you that are new and aren't used to my method of sketching or teaching, one thing that I stress before anything else, especially when you start a drawing, is that you want to lay that foundation layer down first. This takes longer than probably anything else. It's kind of like, construction workers making a new building. What's the most important part? Digging the basement out, or multiple layers or levels, I should say, and then building that good foundation with pylons and posts and walls and such. Same thing with the drawing. All right, so now it's looking pretty good. I think what I'm going to do is, and this is my OCD kicking in, I'm going to do one more pass and I'm going to turn it slightly like this. Okay, and now this one I am going to push a little harder, but I'm going to go slower just to make sure that all of my strokes are close together. When you do this and your strokes are not close, and then you go to a different angle and they're not close, you get gaps in the graphite, and some of them are darker than others. So that's why you have to make sure that you go the full length that you want to cover. When I did Bartholomew's face, let me zoom out here so you can see it. When I did his face, I went from the chin all the way up to the forehead before any of this detail is put in, so it just looked like a blank face. I went all the way up. I had the outline of his jaw in lightly, and then I turned the head, and then I did probably 10 different passes before I got that really good smooth effect. The lightness that you see is just a play on graphite where I pushed harder, and then I left the lighter tone of the paper to show the highlight on the wrinkles, which is something that I'm going to show you here in a couple minutes. All right, so let's straighten my sketchbook back up here and let's zoom right back in there so I can show you how to put the first markings in for a wrinkle. All right, so you have to think of a wrinkle as an imperfection. There's 8 billion something people on this planet. Everybody has a different wrinkle. Just like you look at the sky and no clouds are ever the same. So let's put, very lightly, let's put a wrinkle in here that kind of goes in a twisty motion, like this. And I'm going to do another one, but I'm not going to follow that one. Instead, I'm just going to choose an area over here, totally organic, and I'm going to get close to that one. And then maybe there's a wrinkle that comes down here. And then the cool thing is, whenever you see lines get close together, think for a minute like branches from a tree. When you see them all bunched up and close together, it's like a little chaotic, isn't it? So we want to make the wrinkles kind of chaotic too. So I'm going to put some skin folds in different directions, because fat cells and blood vessels and your epidermis, all of those different things that are in your skin are going to change once it's all close together and folding. Like the older you get, your skin elasticity sags and wrinkles and such. All right, so this is what I want to do. I want to put in, okay, so see how the wrinkles are curving this way, almost like an S form. Wherever they curve and then change the direction, that's where the core shadow is going to be. Now, why is that? It's because when it comes back out, it's going to collect new light. Think of the wrinkle as going over the side of like a finger. You could see up here on Bart's like chin. See how the scars are rounding and then they go under and everything's darker under the lip. Think about, let me move up a little. Look at the wrinkles on his brow ridge right in between both eyebrows. Okay, they come up, they bend, and then they come back down. Look how they're bottlenecked right here and they squeeze. Why is that? It's because the fat cells on the upper part of the eyelid are drooping down. Bart is probably in his lower to mid 50s. Okay, so he's not elderly by any means, but he's also not young. He's getting to the part where, you got some crow's feet here. The eyelids have lost some of the elasticity, and plus his injuries. I mean, look at his injuries. Whatever attacked him on his eye, that hurt. And like up here, he lost his eyesight in his right eye. That's why it's different. Okay, that's why there's no real pupil in there, but he's got a pupil over here. Okay, so like I said, he's been through hell. All right, so when we roll that down here, whenever I do wrinkles, a set of wrinkles that are close together, I always like to choose one or two main folds. Okay, so this is kind of like the anchor point. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one a little darker, and then maybe this one a little darker. And then I'm just going to fade the line up into the creases that I already drew. So what that does is it gives me an opportunity to say, okay, this area right here is probably a bigger fold of skin, and then the ones behind it are kind of catching up to it. So they're behind it. It could also play to his neck, okay? And not just for Bart, but just for anything organic that you're drawing. You have a large bony structure, such as a jaw, maybe an armpit, maybe a kneecap, an elbow, something, and then you have the skin leading up to that joint. And wherever it has to bend and bunch up, that's where you're going to have tinier wrinkles. And then the larger parts are where you're not only going to have the larger wrinkles and a collection of fat, you're also going to have the bigger pores and the bigger scales, especially if you're doing something super wrinkly like an iguana, any kind of a lizard. Think about large bird legs where, the skin bunches up at the toes. Same thing. All right, so now I chose a wrinkle that I want to put more detail on. Here's the key on making, not the key, but another key on making wrinkles realistic. You have to take this graphite and you have to fade it into the lighter tone that you drew. This is something that I've been stressing on all of my drawing tutorials lately, traditionally, is that when you apply darkness to a lighter tone, you need to take away the outline effect. And the outline effect is just one single naked line on top of a tone that's completely different. So what this does is it fades it into it and makes it seem like the light is bending around every single crevice and surface that's there. All right, so what's happening now is I'm taking the graphite, and this is why it's important to keep everything sharp. You want to fade it off nicely. Don't worry about those creases that you drew, because at the end of the day, the darkness that's happening right here is going to overpower any crease. If you put darkness like here over top of those creases, well, then that means the contrast isn't good. So all you got to do is just darken the crease, and there you go. So now it still looks good, because now you have, it's like whenever you sketch something, make sure that you have a good play on thick to thin lines and dark, medium, and light tones. That's the key. Have you ever drawn something and you looked at it and go, the entire thing just looks the same? It's a sea of sameness. It's because there's no contrast to it. Look at Bart's face. Look at his chin. That is the core shadow. Look at this part right up here where the chin, like the stubble and the hair, that part is the light catcher because light's coming straight down. This is why I put that cast shadow for the nostril right over his lip, his upper lip. Okay? Same thing with his eye sockets. It's not super harsh, but there's enough there to tell you, okay, this is an overhang and there's cast shadow on the bottom. The same thing applies to when you do wrinkles like this. All right, also, and as promised, the secondary lesson that I'm going to give today is how to put a scar in here. Before you get intimidated about a scar, I just want you to know that it's probably one of the easiest things to draw on skin. The reason is because it's just scar tissue. There's usually no pores, no hair, no color. It doesn't matter what skin tone you are. It doesn't matter what animal it is. If you ever notice, you take every race on this planet of human and you look at the scars they've had from operations, it's pretty much the same tone. It's because it cannot get the melanin back in it. The scar tissue has overtaken everything. So what you need to do is, without getting darker, let's put a scar that runs across the wrinkle. And here's the other thing, and you definitely need to pay attention to this. Whenever you draw something over top of a wrinkle, make sure that that new thing follows the crease of the wrinkle. Watch what I'm doing here. See that big wrinkle right here? Make sure the scar is rolled to follow it, and then it kind of fades off here. So let's do something that kind of looks like a scratch or a knife wound, like this. And then let's be a little bit organic and kind of not make it even. All right. So what I've done here is I've marked off the area. Now the graphite inside of that scar is going to stay that tone, and I'm not going to touch it. Not yet, at least. Instead, I'm going to put some value around it. And when I put it around it and I fade it off into space, watch what happens to the actual scar. It starts to be more prominent. You can start to see the scar come up, because scars aren't perfectly flat. It's a hole in skin that needed to heal. So what it does is it forms extra scar tissue on top, and it kind of forms a lump. All right. So like up here, that scar that runs across, it's still going to follow the wrinkle, and you're still going to draw the wrinkle on top of the scar. You're going to continue that all the way. But the scar itself doesn't get any darker in between those lines. Now, where I have these little jagged marks, I'm just going to put a new wrinkle that's going to show up. Okay, like this, so that I know that there is a wrinkle there. Okay, and I'm going to get a little darker in here because maybe that's a deeper wrinkle, and then I'm just going to fade it up like this. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm not quite satisfied with this yet because it's just laying the foundation for it. It's definitely not done yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to roll my pencil in tiny, tiny little circles like this. What this does is it adds some texture on top of the single lines that I drew to fill up the space for graphite. Okay, so like the first passes that I did for the skin, what this is doing is it's adding a little layer of texture on here that's different stroke. Like this. And I definitely want to get in here right by that scar. Because the other thing that you have to think about is when you have a scar on your skin in a place that did previously have wrinkles, it's not going to wrinkle the same as it did before because that skin isn't the same. The elasticity is gone. Okay, so you can kind of play up with, oh, well, maybe that skin is a little puffier here. Maybe it's kind of a little lumpy in certain places, and that's okay. So you can start to see the different layers really coming together now. Now, this stroke, I'm probably going to have this wrinkle come all the way up, right like that. And then maybe come down. And then let's add a different type of wrinkle in here. Let's put some micro wrinkles in here. So with the tip of my pencil, all right, I'm going to put some micro wrinkles right around the bigger one. So what that does is it gives the illusion that whatever was here prior to that scar, or it could have been before this creature or character aged, there was going to be a lot of wrinkles there, like a lot of collection of wrinkles. But that scar prevented it because there's nothing to wrinkle up anymore. So you're going to have it like the next best thing. You're just going to do some micro wrinkles, and maybe there's like a pivot right here. I don't know. There could be a joint. Maybe this is like a creature's finger. I don't know. Who knows what's going on here? And since this is bending down, okay, so you have this ridge, I'm going to put some tone right here that's going to be a little darker. This is almost like a shelf right here. So I'm going to put a little darker, and I'm just going to do some bigger circles. So if you want to see the exact stroke I'm using, it's this. They're flattened ovals, and I move in a direction where I go over the previous mark. But I'm doing it much faster and with a little bit more of the side of my pencil. So you probably learned that in art school, where if you just keep your pencil sharp, oh, sorry, that was out of focus. If you keep it sharp and just lay it down sideways, you can fill up a really big area. Yes, you can definitely do that. I personally still like to use more of the tip because I have more control that way. Okay, so let's put it a little bit darker right here, right like that. And let's play up with this area. Okay, so I'm really having fun with this little bit right here. I don't know what this area is, and I think that's kind of the fun part. So now, here's how I'm holding the pencil. This gives me a specific type of marking. I'm going to hold my pencil to the side, and I'm just going to pivot my hand back and forth while keeping my wrist still. Okay, so it's kind of off camera a little bit. It allows me to go straight and still shade on the side of my pencil. And I just kind of plant my palm. I have to be careful though, because I don't want to ruin her face. So I'm laying my palm on her face, but I'm not, well, it's kind of hard to explain. I'm using more of my pinky than my palm. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's off camera. There we go. Okay. So once I got that, look at the cool things that are happening. And this could easily be overlooked. I want to try to put in a little light here because I think, there we go. That's probably a little better. There might be a sudden glaze on Bartholomew's face as I move the sketchbook up, like a little highlight. So just kind of ignore that right now. Maybe I should move it up here. There we go. All right. Look what happened when you texture, and this is why I don't use my fingertips to smear, because the oils in your skin ruin any chance of you shading with the pencil on top of what you smeared. Look at all of those little imperfections that just circles did with shading. They're tiny. Let's zoom in here so you can see it. Look at that. Almost all of the skin is done for me. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look and I'm go, oh, that's already done for me. I'm just going to darken it. Like this, put in these little lines here, and all of a sudden, I'm populating my entire drawing with new formed wrinkles that I did not have prior. And the cool thing is, I didn't expect those. That's the cool thing. So now I can just kind of play off some of these little wrinkles, almost like tree branches. All right, there we go. I don't know if you guys can hear on camera. I don't know if my mic is picking it up, but there's a construction crew down the block, and it sounds like somebody is like infinitely backing their vehicle up with that beep, and it just won't go away. I don't know what's going on. Okay, there we go. So now let's zoom out and let's see what that looks like. Yeah, okay. So the next thing that we can do is we can think about, all right, we have a scar coming across here, and we also have a nice light shelf, like a light catcher. I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to move it in, and I'm going to push darker, like that. All right, and then once I push that in, I'm just going to fade it off, like that. And notice how this is a really prominent wrinkle, and that's cool. I like that, and it was unexpected. So now I'm looking up here in different areas and I go, okay, there's a change in position right here. So I'm just going to darken it, and I'm just going to go dark to light really quickly, like this. And the reason I'm getting lighter is because I guess you can call it trench. I don't know what other word to use. The trench is not deep enough. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of adding some micro wrinkles around it, like that. This way, here, let me take my pencil, and instead of outlining the scar, I'm just going to darken up the tissue around it, like this. So now we got a scar running across that area. Okay, so if you look at the set of wrinkles here, right in this area, it also looks inset. Okay, so that means that there's probably going to be some form of shadow within that little area also. But if that happens, you need to be careful that you don't get too harsh at the edge of the shadow, because what's going to happen is it's going to be outlined also. So I'm going to take that shadow area and I'm just going to fade it off right like this. Now this is obviously quicker because there's not a ton of detail. Okay, so some of these wrinkles disappeared and I don't really want that. So I need to go really far in on my pencil now for micro details, and I'm just gonna put in some darkness and these little teeny wrinkles like that. Maybe there's like a little pivot right here, like a little crease. Okay, and then I'm gonna come up. And what's cool about wrinkles is that don't be afraid to overlap. It happens. I mean, we all age, animals age, and wrinkles are never pretty. Like, well, let me put it this way. Wrinkles are beautiful, okay? The cool thing about them is like they overlap, and then you really start to see somebody's wisdom and age come. So I have all these wrinkles coming down this way, but what's cool is I can put maybe some more going up this way too. You know, when we try to palm read and we look at our palm and it seems like every year the wrinkles change, we have, you know, like we got crisscrossing wrinkles, we got all that fun stuff in here. I don't palm read, by the way. I wish I could. I've looked into it before. I think it's kind of neat, but I don't know. Some of the stuff doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now you can see we got a big area here where there's different types of wrinkles and also a scar. So maybe there's like maybe this is another part on Bartholomew. Have you ever thought about it? You know, this is going to be his trapezius muscle coming down. So maybe he has an injury right on his neck. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool, actually. That was unintentional, but maybe I just added more to the drawing. So I'm going to put in some micro details now of just like little dots, little pores like this. And some of these wrinkles over here look kind of nice. So I'm just going to, what I'm doing is when I hold my pencil like this, instead of drawing on the side, I tilt my hand up like this so the pencil is pointing more almost vertical. What that does is it helps me give some really good points in here. Like this, and you can see the details coming. There we go. So what we've done is we've added a scar. We've populated the drawing with different types of wrinkles, so the area really has come to life. And we're also texturing it. Okay, so what I mean by texturing it is we've added some little circles in here to give you some bumps. Now, if you look at Bartholomew's face, you know, I did some other things too, like I gave him some freckles and moles, skin imperfections. I gave him some stubble, and also his lip is a lot different. Like this material or this skin is different than the skin down here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of giving this patch of skin stubble, I'm just going to mark off little dark areas here and there. And I'm going to stagger them, so I'm not going to be predictable. So maybe some are longer. I'm doing really tiny circles, and I'm kind of going up into the other space, like this. Maybe one here, one there, maybe like a little dot here, a series of dots there. Okay. Thank you all for joining in on this lesson. I hope you were drawing along with me. I got a lot more lessons planned. Just check out my drawing playlist, and also I have a creature playlist. Again, those of you that are coming in late, if you're wondering about the materials that I use to draw, I have a link down in the description about, you know, with Faber-Castell, you can purchase them on Amazon. Also, better late than never, tomorrow is the first day for my creature design workshop for December. So we do every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2, and they're all recorded. So if you would like to sign up for that, you can join the Discord for free indefinitely and just, you know, chat with different creature designers and artists that want to be better. And also, if you want to sign up for the actual workshop, you can DM me on Discord. You can email me, bobbyrebholtz@gmail.com. Comment below. Tell me what you guys are working on. You know, I love hearing about everybody's artistic journeys too. Like and subscribe if you found this helpful. I got a lot more coming, and